All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're peeling back the layers of a fast food giant that practically invented modern food delivery. We are diving deep into the Domino's 2025 annual report for this explainer. Honestly, whether you're a business fanatic, a tech enthusiast, or just someone who genuinely loves a good slice of pizza, you are in the perfect place. We're going to look way past the cardboard boxes and the clever marketing to uncover the actual underlying engine that drives this massive business forward. So let's get right to it. I want to start us off with a massive number, 22,142. That is Domino's staggering total global store count as of 2025. I mean, it's just a colossal footprint, proving their sheer dominance in the quick service restaurant industry. They ended the year operating in more than 90 markets around the world. To put that into perspective for a second, they are the #1 pizza company on the planet, hands down. But how is that massive empire actually divided up? Well, when you think of Domino's, you might immediately picture a heavily corporate American brand, right? But take a look at how this breaks down. The international franchise presence, which is nearly 15,000 stores, completely dwarfs their US and company-owned locations. In fact, US company-owned stores make up just a tiny, tiny sliver, barely over 260 locations total. They are, first and foremost, a massive globally franchised operation. So here's our roadmap for the explainer. First, the #1 pizza maker. Second, they're hungry for more strategy. Third, the secret supply chain. Fourth, the franchisee North Star. And finally, tech, delivery, and risks. All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the #1 pizza maker and their global consistency. We are talking about a company achieving its 32nd straight year of same-store sales growth internationally. Just think about that for a second. Think about all the global economic events, the recessions, the shifting dietary trends over the last 3 decades, and Domino's literally just kept growing. Domestically, they've also grabbed approximately 11 points of U.S. market share over the last 11 years alone. So they aren't just, participating in the pizza market, they are actively devouring it. Moving right along to Section 2, hungry for more and their strategic pillars. So what's actually fueling this growth? It all comes down to this acronym, MORE. It stands for Most Delicious Food, Operational Excellence, Renowned Value, and Enhanced by Best-in-Class Franchisees. This specific framework anchors absolutely every single corporate decision they make. We're talking everything from rolling out new product launches to optimizing the tiny efficiency details inside a store kitchen. Let's look at a few examples of how they actually bring these pillars to life for the consumer. First up, here's the Most Delicious Food pillar in action. In March of 2025, Domino's rolled out their Parmesan stuffed crust. Now, the company openly admits they weren't the first to invent stuffed crust, obviously, but they recognized it as a massive gap in their pizza portfolio. By launching this, they captured a whole new audience segment. And honestly, it also required leaning heavily into that operational excellence pillar because they had to develop entirely new procedures and training so their stores could handle the complexity of this new item without slowing down their delivery times. And they definitely don't just do this in the States. They take this deliciousness global, launching crave-worthy, highly localized items. Check out this incredible croissant pizza they launched in Spain and Mexico. Or in India, they introduced a cheese lava pull-apart pizza. The big takeaway here for any business owner, the operating system itself can be standardized globally, but the product absolutely must cater to local tastes. That localization is a huge, huge reason behind that 32-year international growth streak we talked about a minute ago. Then, to tackle the renowned value pillar, Domino's did something pretty bold in 2025. They rolled out their very first brand packaging refresh in 13 years. They introduced bright new colors and these highly social media-friendly boxes. Plus, they paired this fresh look with an aggressive $9.99 Best Deal Ever promotion. You have to remember, in a macroeconomic environment where consumers were getting heavily squeezed by inflation and rising restaurant prices, Domino's leaned hard into that specific $9.99 value proposition. It was a strategic move to drive foot traffic, boost order counts, and ultimately protect their precious market share. Which brings us to Section 3, the secret supply chain, or as I like to call it, the real revenue engine. Okay, here's where things get wild. Here is the massive twist in the Domino's story. If you thought they made most of their money simply selling pizza or collecting franchise royalties, you've got to look again. Domino's isn't just a pizza seller. They are secretly a massive supply chain operation. As we can see, this segment generates a staggering 60.5% of their total corporate revenue. The royalties from that massive international franchise network we marveled at, that only makes up about 6.9% of corporate revenue. The true economic engine of this whole shebang is actually in the supply chain. And that supply chain revenue, it equals nearly $3 billion. Yes, billion with a B. How do they do it? Basically, by selling fresh dough, cheese, meats, and even store equipment directly back to their own franchisees. Domino's outright owns the supply chain, which means they control the quality, they control the consistency, and they capture a massive revenue stream before a single pizza is ever even baked. So how does this actually work in practice? They've built an incredibly robust, vertically integrated blueprint. Check this out. They operate 22 regional U.S. dough and supply centers. They sourced ingredients like cheese, which, by the way, makes up a massive 25% of their entire food basket, from an exclusive supplier just to lock in volume pricing. Then, they have their own fleet of over 1,100 tractors and trailers delivering these products to over 7,800 North American stores. And here is the absolute kicker. To keep franchisees totally loyal to the system, Domino's brilliantly shares 50% of the pre-tax profits from the supply chain right back with the participating franchisees. It perfectly aligns everyone's incentives. Let's dive into Section 4, the franchisee North Star and their independent operators. So you might be wondering, why do franchisees stick around and continue to build new stores? Well, the model creates serious profit power. Despite all the economic headwinds out there, the estimated average U.S. store profitability jumped to approximately $166,000 per store in 2025. When your business model consistently delivers that kind of cash flow to an independent operator, you absolutely ensure a very healthy, very motivated franchise base that is eager to expand. And the culture here is just fascinating. What makes it truly unique is their talent pipeline. It's crazy to think that almost all independent U.S. owners actually started out as pizza delivery drivers or in-store team members. They literally worked their way up, went through the Domino's franchise management school, and now the average U.S. franchisee owns 9 stores. Internationally, it's a slightly different beast. They rely on massive master franchisees to handle entire countries or regions. For example, their master franchisee in India operates an astounding 2,396 stores. It's an incredibly scalable engine no matter how you slice it. Finally, let's wrap up with Section 5, tech, delivery, and risks. How they protect the brand. Now, to protect this massive empire, they use a really smart dual approach to digital ordering. They fiercely protect their native digital channels, meaning orders placed directly on their own app or their own website. In 2025, these native channels drove over 85% of all U.S. sales, completely powered by their proprietary Dom OS system and the Domino's Rewards loyalty program. But at the same time, they aren't completely ignoring the rest of the market. They strategically partner with third-party aggregators like DoorDash and Uber Eats, but they do it specifically to grab incremental market share from customers who strictly use those apps, rather than accidentally giving up their core loyal customers. But, of course, operating at this massive scale is definitely not without its risks. Skyrocketing minimum wages and labor shortages constantly threaten to squeeze those amazing franchisee profit margins we just praised. Fluctuating commodity prices are also a huge danger. Like we said, if the price of cheese spikes, their entire supply chain margin takes a direct hit. And because they process over 85% of their U.S. orders digitally, the rising threat of cyber attacks and AI-driven data breaches is a constant shadow, threatening to erode their hard-earned customer trust. But here's the thing about Domino's. Their entire corporate ethos is built around taking these exact operational and technological challenges, facing them head-on, and turning them into their biggest strategic advantage. When delivery logistics got too hard, they built better tech. When their value was questioned, they completely overhauled their menu and packaging. They are absolute masters at adapting. Which really leaves us with one final big thought for our explainer today. Domino's has absolutely proven they have a nearly flawless operational blueprint. But as global costs, from cheese to labor to technology, just continue to rise, will the ultimate pizza supply chain machine continue to deliver those sky-high margins? Or will these macroeconomic headwinds finally start to slow them down? It is definitely something to think about the next time you order a slice. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.